My name is Marcus, and this happened back in 2016 when I was working the graveyard shift at a 7-Eleven off a highway exit in rural Ohio. I was 22 at the time, just trying to make some extra money while finishing my associate's degree. The store I worked at was isolated. The nearest residential area was about 2 miles down the road, so between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., it was basically a ghost town. Usually I'd like the silence. It gave me time to study or listen to podcasts. But on this specific Tuesday in November, the silence felt heavy. It was around 3:15 a.m. I was restocking the energy drinks in the back cooler. If you've never been in a walk-in cooler, the fans are loud. They hum with this aggressive mechanical drone that drowns out everything happening in the store. Because of that, I always kept the glass door slightly propped open so I could hear the front door chime. I had been in there for maybe 5 minutes when I felt a sudden drop in pressure. It's hard to explain, but you know that feeling when you're alone in a room and you suddenly know someone else is there? The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I stopped stacking the cans and listened. Nothing. Just the fans. I stepped out of the cooler and looked toward the front counter. The store was empty. The fluorescent lights were buzzing, and the aisles were perfectly still. I checked the monitor for the security cameras. Nothing on the pumps. Nothing in the aisles. I told myself I was just being paranoid, probably from too much caffeine. I went back behind the counter and started wiping down the register. That's when I heard it. Tap. 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 It was a light, rhythmic tapping on glass. I looked up at the front doors. No one was there. I looked at the side window near the slushy machines. Nothing. "Hello?" I called out, my voice cracking a little. "We're open." Silence. I went back to wiping the counter, but I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. I looked at the security monitor again, specifically camera 4, which covers the back corner of the store near the bathrooms. My heart dropped into my stomach. Standing in the blind spot of the aisle, facing the wall, was a person. They were wearing a heavy, oversized green parka with the hood up. They weren't looking at the shelves. They were just standing there, facing the blank white wall, perfectly still. I hadn't heard the door chime. How long had they been there? Did they slip in while I was in the cooler? "Sir," I called out, louder this time, "can I help you find something?" The figure didn't move. They didn't even flinch. I started to get that sick feeling, the adrenaline dumping into my system that makes your hands shake. I reached under the counter and put my hand on the panic button, but I didn't press it yet. I didn't want to call the cops on some drunk guy who was just spacing out. I walked around the counter, keeping my distance. "Sir, you can't loiter back here. You need to buy something or leave." Slowly, agonizingly slowly, the figure turned around. It wasn't a man. It was a woman, probably in her 60s, but her face, it looked wrong. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and her mouth was hanging open in this silent, stretched scream. But she wasn't making a sound. She just stared at me, her eyes locked onto mine, tracking me like a predator. Then she took a step toward me, then another. Her movements were jerky, unnatural, like a puppet being pulled by strings. "I'm calling the police," I said, backing up toward the counter. She didn't stop. She started walking faster, not running, just this fast, aggressive power walk, her hands still in her pockets, that expression never changing. I scrambled back over the counter and slammed the door to the employee enclosure, locking it. The second the lock clicked, she slammed her body against the plexiglass. She didn't use her hands. She just threw her weight against the glass, face first, smearing her forehead against the glass, eyes rolling back to look at me. I hit the panic button. For the next 8 minutes, which felt like 8 hours, she just stood there, pressed against the glass, muttering something I couldn't hear through the barrier. I was huddled in the corner, clutching the landline, watching her breath fog up the plastic.
When the blue lights finally flashed through the front windows, she didn't run. She just turned, looked at the police entering the door, and smiled, a genuine, terrifying smile. The police arrested her. It turned out she had walked away from a mental health facility 3 towns over. But that's not the part that keeps me up at night. When the police reviewed the footage later, they called me into the back office. They showed me the video when I was in the cooler. The woman hadn't walked in through the front door. She had been in the store the entire time. She had come in during the rush at 10 p.m. and had hidden inside the men's bathroom ceiling tiles. She had been watching me from the ceiling for 5 hours, waiting for me to be alone. I quit that job the next morning. I can't walk into a 7-Eleven anymore without checking the ceiling.
This story happened last winter in Seattle. I was 19, working the closing shift. It wasn't a 24-hour location. We closed at midnight and reopened at 5 a.m., which is rare for a 7-Eleven, but this was in a rougher part of the city, and they had too many robberies to stay open all night. It was 11:45 p.m. It was pouring rain outside, a dark, miserable night. I had just locked the front doors to stop new customers from coming in so I could finish mopping the floors and go home. My manager, Dave, had already left, so I was closing alone. I was in the back aisle, mopping up a spill near the coffee station, when I saw headlights sweep across the front of the store. A beat-up black sedan pulled into the parking lot and parked right in front of the glass doors. The engine cut off and the lights went dark. I watched for a second. Usually people get out, try the door, realize it's locked and leave, but no one got out. The car just sat there, dark in the pouring rain. The windows were tinted, so I couldn't see inside. I shrugged it off and kept mopping. 5 minutes passed. I looked up again. The car was still there. This started to make me nervous. I was a 19-year-old girl alone in a glass box. I decided to hurry up. I grabbed the cash drawer, took it to the back office to count it, and locked the office door. I watched the security monitor while I counted. The car hadn't moved. Then at 11:58 p.m., the driver's side door opened. A man stepped out. He was tall, wearing a long raincoat and a baseball cap pulled low. He didn't walk to the door to check if we were open. He walked around the side of the building, toward the dumpsters. My heart started pounding. The back door. The back door of our store was solid steel, but the lock was old and finicky. Sometimes, if you didn't slam it just right, the deadbolt wouldn't fully engage. I tried to remember if I had slammed it hard enough when I took the trash out earlier. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but I didn't hit call yet. I just held my thumb over the button. Clang! A loud metallic sound echoed from the back of the store. He was trying the handle. Clang! Clang! He was throwing his weight against it. He knew I was in there. He wasn't trying to be quiet. I hit call. 911, what is your emergency? Someone is trying to break into the back of the 7-Eleven on 5th and Pine, I whispered, sliding under the desk in the office. I'm alone. We have officers nearby, the dispatcher said. Stay on the line. Are you safe? I'm in the office. It's locked. Then the noise stopped. The banging on the back door ceased. Silence returned to the store. He stopped. I think he left. Stay on the line, Sarah, the dispatcher said. I looked up at the security monitor. The screen showed the sales floor. It was empty. Then I looked at camera 2, which pointed at the back hallway leading to the office. The back door was open. He hadn't left. He had gotten in. I saw him on the screen. He was walking down the narrow hallway, soaking wet, holding something in his right hand. It looked like a tire iron. He wasn't rushing. He was moving methodically, checking the storage room, checking the bathroom. He was looking for me. I held my breath, tears streaming down my face. I could hear his wet boots squeaking on the linoleum floor just outside the office door. Squeak, squeak. He stopped right in front of the office door. I could see the doorknob slowly turn. It rattled, locked. Then he spoke. His voice was low, gravelly, and right up against the wood. "I know you're in there, Sarah. Dave said you'd be counting the cash." My blood ran cold. He knew my name. He knew my manager. Suddenly, sirens wailed in the distance, getting louder fast. The man hesitated. He hit the door once with the tire iron, a massive, deafening bang that cracked the wood near the frame, and then he ran back out the way he came. The police arrived 2 minutes later, but he was gone. The black sedan was gone too. Here is the most disturbing part. When the police questioned Dave, my manager, he swore he didn't know anyone matching the description. But 3 weeks later, Dave was arrested. It turned out Dave owed a lot of money to some bad people, and he'd told them exactly when the store would be closing and that a young girl would be alone with the safe. He set me up. I never worked in a store alone again.
I've been a long-haul trucker for about 10 years. You see a lot of weird things on the road, mostly just drunks or accidents. But this happened in a 7-Eleven in West Texas, miles from anything, at about 2:30 in the morning. I'd been driving for 6 hours straight and was running on fumes, both the truck and me. I pulled into this massive truck stop that had a 7-Eleven attached to it. It was one of those supersized ones with showers and a lounge. I filled up the rig and went inside to grab a coffee and a sandwich. The place was dead quiet. The clerk was a kid, maybe 18, asleep behind the counter with his headphones on. I didn't bother waking him up yet. I went to the back to pour coffee. While I was adding sugar, I looked out the front window. The way the store was lit, the glass was basically a mirror at night. You couldn't really see outside. You could only see the reflection of the store behind you. In the reflection of the glass, I saw someone standing in the aisle behind me. I hadn't heard the door chime. I turned around casually, expecting to see another trucker, but the aisle was empty. I frowned. I was sure I had seen a shape. I walked down the aisle, checking the next one over. Nothing, just rows of chips and candy. Maybe I'm more tired than I thought, I muttered to myself. I went back to my coffee. I lifted the cup to take a sip, and my eyes drifted to the window again. There it was, in the reflection. A man was standing right behind me, maybe 3 feet away. He was tall, wearing dirty gray coveralls, but he was unnaturally pale, like he had been dusted with flour. I spun around fast, spilling hot coffee on my hand. "Who's there?" I yelled. Empty. The aisle was completely empty. Now I was freaked out. I know what sleep deprivation feels like. This wasn't it. I felt a cold dread settling in my stomach. I decided to forget the sandwich. I just wanted to pay for the coffee and leave. I walked quickly to the front counter. "Hey," I yelled at the sleeping clerk. He jumped, pulling his headphones off. "You check me out, man. Hurry." He looked at me, confused. "You okay?" "Just ring it up," I snapped. As he was scanning the coffee, I looked at the security monitor above his head. It showed a split screen of 4 cameras. On the screen, labeled Camera 3, Coffee Station, I saw myself from a minute ago. It was a delayed feed, maybe lagging by 60 seconds. I watched myself on the screen pouring sugar, and standing directly behind me, so close his chest was almost touching my back, was the man in the gray coveralls. He wasn't transparent. He wasn't a ghost. He was solid. He was staring down at the back of my neck, smiling a wide, toothless grin. I watched on the screen as I turned around in the video. The man didn't disappear. He ducked. He dropped to the floor on all 4s with impossible speed, crawling silently into the bottom shelf space where the extra cups were stored.
I had looked right over him. "Sir, that's $2.50, the clerk said. I looked at the monitor. The feed had caught up to real time. It showed me standing at the counter, and it showed the man in the gray coveralls crawling on his hands and knees down the center aisle, heading toward the front counter, heading toward my ankles. I didn't pay. I didn't say a word. I turned and ran. I burst out the front doors, sprinted to my truck, locked the doors, and tore out of that parking lot. I drove for 3 hours before I finally stopped at a well-lit rest area. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my cab with a tire thumper in my lap, watching the mirrors. I don't know what that guy wanted. I don't know if he was a hitchhiker, a drifter, or something else. But I know that he was real, and I know he knows how to hide in plain sight. So, the next time you're in a convenience store late at night and you feel like you're being watched, check the bottom shelves.